Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Amplifying Your CRM Investment with Service Cloud. I'm Andrea Terrell, Marketing Director at Configuro, and this webinar is a part of our series where we talk about ways for your organization to build what's next on the Salesforce platform. A couple of housekeeping things before we dive into the content. We will be doing Q&A at the end of the presentation. So if you do have questions as we go through the content, please just type them into your chat window in GoToMeeting. We are also on Twitter. Configuro, today's speaker Jen and I are on Twitter. Handles at the bottom of the screen, so give us a shout. We'd love to hear from people there. One of the first questions that we always get is if we will share the slides. And yes, we're going to be recording today's presentation and sharing the slides and the recording via email afterwards, so keep an eye out for that. I want to introduce today's speaker, Jen Nelson. She's a senior solution architect on our team. Jen has spent over 12 years in the Salesforce ecosystem, and as you can see from the screen, has a lot of certifications and specialized expertise. She was named an MVP in the spring 2014 class and also leads the Chicago Salesforce user group. She has deep knowledge across the Salesforce platform, but as a former director of customer service, Service Cloud is definitely one piece of the platform that's near and dear to her heart. So I'm going to hand it over to Jen to dive into the meat of today's content.
All right. Thanks, Andrea. Can everybody hear me okay? You can hear me? Andrea?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. All right, great. And everybody can see my screen, hopefully.
Yep, we're looking good.
All right. So, all right, good. So as Andrea mentioned, I have been in the ecosystem a long time. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. Interesting story, when I was director of customer service and first became involved with Salesforce, my vice president of customer service was a visionary, and she and I together implemented Salesforce for the customer service team, and we were actually using it for about a year before the sales and marketing team ever started using it. So really have a lot of passion for, having the integration with the multi-team functionality so that we're not all siloed, so that my Salesforce experience in customer service isn't completely removed from the sales team's experience in Salesforce and the marketing team. We're all working together with our prospects and customers, and so we should act like it, right? We should provide a unified experience. Couple of quick notes today. So what I want to spend a lot of time focusing on is how the Service Cloud, opposed to Sales Cloud, can be a benefit to all teams. I think, again, historically, we think about sales teams get Sales Cloud licenses, service teams get Service Cloud licenses. My proposal to you today is, rather than having two different license sets, right? Sales Cloud gets you the base access to Salesforce. So it gets you accounts, contacts, campaigns, leads, opportunities, contracts, all of that standard stuff. But it doesn't get you access to things like knowledge, live agent, the service console, and all of those pieces, I believe, are just as important for the sales team as they are for the service team. So my proposal is, take your folks who are on Sales Cloud licenses and convert them up to Service Cloud licenses along with your Service Cloud team, so that you have more unified experience. Couple of things in the Service Cloud console that I wanted to call out. Obviously, you can see here the Service Cloud console has this nice UI to it that's very, it's allowing people to juggle a lot of different things, right? So my customer service rep here has cases that she's working. As she goes through and she's working a particular case, she might want to drill into more specific information about the customer on that case to see if they have other cases open, other opportunities open, and you notice how it opens sub-tabs for each case. So for each case that I go to, as I drill into specific details, I get sub-details. I only see the sub-details for the primary record, which is very nice. You can also see, as we're looking at my primary case here, you can see that I've got SLA milestones, and I've actually got a timer running right there on the case. So it's very obvious, very visible to the person working the case, how much time they have left to complete each milestone, and it ticks down by the second. The console allows you to set up a case feed layout, so you can have the traditional layout, which is, you know, the basic kind of text and your related list. But what we find is people are much more efficient, much faster, if they're able to have more of this case feed layout, where you can have chatter quick actions across the top. Right here in the center, you can have, if you have knowledge set up, you can have embedded suggested articles based on attributes of the case, such as the case subject. So for example, this case is grid use cases. I can click articles here, and I see already that it's proactively suggesting knowledge articles for me to use on this case. If I want to see details about that knowledge article, I can click on it. I can see all of the information about that individual article. But more specifically, right here from the suggested articles, I can go in and I can attach the article to a case. If I want to include it as part of the solution, I can actually email the article as a PDF to my contact and say, you know, thank you for your call today, and here is some documentation. Down here in the bottom, I still have my suggested articles. So if I have additional articles that I want to send him, like the advanced features, I just add it, and it's right here, and that goes out to the user. Very clean, very simple, so that we have this information, right? The other thing that I find very useful, and Andrea and I are going to do a little bit of a coordinated demo here. So you notice down in the middle, in the bottom, I've actually got some widgets on my service console. I've got a widget here for tabs that I was recently in, so I can jump back. I've got a widget for anything that I've bookmarked as a favorite. This guy is really cool because any of my widgets can pop out as a separate window that I can move to a secondary monitor. I can pop it back in, so it's in the footer. So I have widgets for knowledge search, widgets for my history, and widget for live agent. So what Andrea and I are going to demo, and I'm going to try and move my GoToMeeting bar out of the way here, is I am going to play the two roles. I'm going to be ambidextrous here. I'm going to play the role on this Chrome browser here of Jen, the customer service rep. Over here in my Firefox browser, I'm going to play the role of Julia, who is a sales rep, and Julia is actually over here because she has the Service Cloud license. She has access to the Service Cloud console, which still allows her access to opportunities, right? Because we've got it set up to include leads and opportunities. So she's got opportunities that she's working here. She's very productive and clicking along. So Andrea is going to play the role of a customer, and she's going to go on to a Configuro website, and she's going to click a live agent button that is going to launch a chat request so that she can chat directly with support. Okay, so Andrea, when you are ready, go ahead. There we go. Now notice a couple of things. On my Chrome here, I'm getting notifications. I have different configurations set up for service and sales. So when that call's coming in, even though my sales rep is logged in, she's not getting the inbound calls for this configuration. So I have my customer service person who now picks up the chat. The way that I have the chat configured for our demo is I'm assuming that we probably don't know this person who's coming in. So I've got a new contact window that pops up, a new case window and details, and I do a little prep message to the person on the site. So I'm going to say, hello and good morning. How can I help you? Oops, only if I can type. And so that information is going to go to the contact. Now watch my screen here as the visitor starts typing. And Andrea, you can kind of start to type. There you go. So you see here where Andrea is still typing, Live Agent actually allows you the ability to preview the message before the person actually sends the message. So if you are a consumer and on somebody's chat, be cognizant of that. Don't, start typing something hateful or ugly and then backspace it, because they may have already seen it, right? So she says, I need to talk to somebody about purchasing grid licenses. Is that something you can help me with? Yes, for sure. I can do that. Okay. May I please get your name, right? Because they're coming in kind of blind from the chat. I can set up on the front end forms that will capture things like name, email address, all that. For demo purposes, we didn't overly customize it. Hi, Andrea. Thanks so much. Can you tell me a little bit about how you learned about the grid, right? And so I'm going to ask her this question so I can come over here and create her contact. Now you'll notice I didn't fill in an account. I've got automation in the background, simple Salesforce SFA, that when I create the contact, it creates the contact and automatically creates a household account, similar to what the Nonprofit Starter Pack does. I just did it by a visual workflow and a process builder. So now we've got Andrea here, and while Andrea is telling me about how she learned about the grid, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to tag this, I'm going to tag this, and want grid licenses. Basic, I'm going to create the case. All right, she's starting to tell me something. All right. Another department in my company uses it. Oh, hello. But I don't know how to get it installed or set up. Okay, fantastic. Andrea, may I also get your email address? I would love to send you a couple of articles. Right now, can I set up the chat so that the user can pass files and I can pass files? Yes. Do we have that set up here right now? No. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy her email address here. because I have the quick link to her contact, I'm just going to drop the email in there. I don't have to do this, but I'm going to do it because I'm setting up the email. Thank you, Andrea. I am going to send you the install instructions plus a doc about use cases. Would you also like a video demo demoing the grid, right? So while I'm here, I'm going to grab email article. I'm going to go ahead and say I also want to include the general uses, and hi, Andrea. And I can have email templates set up that have custom messages and so on. Thank you for your chat. Here are articles. Excellent. I will include that link in the email too. Okay, and so this other article that I want to include is on the product guide. I'm going to actually click the product guide here in the window. And what I want to do is right here, copy the video URL out of my knowledge article. And then I'm going to say, and here is the Configuro grid demo video. Okay, I'm going to tend to be a lot nicer in email than that, but we're moving fast. So I'm going to go ahead and send all of that, and I'm going to hit send. Whoops. I have to add Andrea in here so that I get her associated. Sorry, I didn't pick that before I went. Email is on its way. Andrea, I would also love to have you speak with our sales team about your grid licensing needs. May I conference in one of our sales persons, right? What do you think, Miss Andrea? All right, will do. Give me one moment, please, right? And it, you know, sometimes you do need one moment to kind of settle and make sure everybody's good. So I do have salespeople in the sales console. They are on their configuration for live agent, and they happen to be logged in. So I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to click this link to send a invitation. I can indicate what skills, what agent I want, and then I'm going to say, hi, Jules. I've got a person interested in grid licenses. Are you free? Okay, so I'm going to send this over to Julia. Now Julia's ringing. Julia can actually hover over this guy and get a preview of my message. Okay, so Julia happens to be free. She's going to go ahead and hit accept. And everything that I have running associated with this chat is now being shared with Julia. Okay, now it does still pop the new contact in the new case window, which I have to figure out how to stop. But you can see here that Julia can now see right away my case that's ongoing with this person. She can see information about Andrea, and she can see the chat transcript. She has a quick little preview message, and then she hops in. So she says, hi, Jen and Andrea. How are you today? Right? So now we've got a conference chat going on, which is super, super cool. Okay. So, you know, Miss Andrea is typing, and Julia can see the preview as well. Okay. Awesome. Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Jen, for your help. That is great to hear, Andrea. And so, you know, so the conversation goes, right? And so Julia does all of her sales things. Like I said, I'm a customer service person, not a salesperson. But Andrea's already told us that she needs 10 more licenses for her team. And so Julia does all of her qualifying information, right? Right here from the case, she can actually create a new opportunity. So while Julia's right here, she can say additional grid licenses as the opportunity name. She can plug in the Terrell household here, Andrea's information. She wants a product. So we just do a quick action right here. It automatically defaults the lead source as internal. It defaults the owner as Julia. It defaults the close date to 30 days out from today. But she can adjust that, and then she can go ahead and create that new opportunity for herself. And so she's got that new opportunity, and we're going to go ahead and have that opportunity associated with this chat as well. So now, thank you for all the information, Andrea, Andrea. I will get a quote out to you this afternoon, right? And then Miss Andrea can wrap up the call and tell us she loves us. Miss Andrea, is there anything else we can do for you? Okay, have a great day. And then on her side, Andrea has a close chat button. And so she disconnects the chat. Okay. And so the chat session is done. So on her side here, Julia's going to close out of everything, and she'll have her new opportunity to work on. On Jen's side, Jen's going to close out the case. So I'm going to go ahead and do status, indicate that email sent to customer with grid documentation and video, conference in Julia, at Julia. Oops, I don't know why that's not working, but conference in Julia to create a new opti for additional grid licenses, and we can close the case out. And so now the case is closed, and my final step, I'm gonna do the link to the account as well, because the link does happen automatically to the contact and the case, but I'm gonna also link to the account so that now I have this transcript saved in its entirety. So if I go ahead and close this out, I'm going to go to my closed cases for a second and find my Andrea case here. And so you'll notice within this case, I do have a link here of live chat transcripts. So you have the full audit history of that transcript right here in the case, and everybody can see it. So Julia could see it if she referred back to the case from her opportunity. Everybody's got the information. Additionally, as a supervisor, I can pin some standard tabs here in my console. So Salesforce does actually allow you to go in and grab standard tabs. I could grab the tab in my knowledge or in my console configuration, but I really only have a very specific number of users that I want to see this tab. So I'm instead of adding the tab, I've gone in, put the Salesforce URL. So for example, if I know accounts are 001, I could do na59 salesforce.com /001, right? And that's going to bring my accounts tab. And then I can come over here in the console and pin the accounts tab so that it's pinned and it's always there if I wanted it for any reason. If I don't want it, I can go back in and close that tab out. But then as a supervisor, I've got my live agent supervisor. I've got my tab for live chat visitors, so I can see all of the different visitors that have come through, live agent sessions, and live chat transcripts. And it's very nice because, you know, as an example, when I click on my visitor information, I can see quite a lot of information about what browser they came from, what operating system they were on, IP addresses. If the person had been abusive during the session, I could actually go in and block their IP address automatically as they're abusive. And this is the other cool thing. So Andrea, can you go ahead and let's see, I'm back online. Go ahead and ring back in to Live Agent for a second. So now I'm going to go ahead, click in here to a new chat, okay? And I'm going to say, you know, good afternoon, right? So Andrea, you can be you again. Okay. To whom am I speaking, please? Right? And as I'm typing, the preview doesn't work the other direction. So it's not like the person who is calling in through chat can see what you're typing before you hit send. It's only that you can see what they're typing because you are the recipient. So Andrea, hi Andrea, long time no talk, LOL. How may I help you? Okay, so Andrea, you want to get back to Julia. Oh, sure. She's pretty cool. Oh, sure. Let me make sure she is free. One moment, please. Okay, this is super cool too, right? So, so I'm going to go ahead and instead of doing a conference, because I've got other stuff to do, right? I'm going to hit transfer. I'm going to do grid and Julia, and I'm going to say, hi, Jules. Andrea Terrell has one more question for you. Are you free? Right? So I do the transfer. Yeah, no, I don't need to save anything new, right? So it's going to ring over by Julia. Julia's going to see the preview, and she's going to go ahead and accept, okay? The whole chat, the whole transcript, everything moves over to Julia. So it's 100% transferred off of me. So I no longer have anything to do with it, okay? It is just Julia. Julia can say, you know, hi, Andrea, how can I help? Okay, now, Andrea, go ahead and just start typing, but don't hit send, okay? And you can be a little bit combative, right? So Jen transferred this off to Julia, but because Jen is a supervisor, Jen can actually go in, and if she knows that, like, you know, maybe Andrea can be a little bit dicey sometimes, you know, a little bit of a challenging personality, I can actually peek into ongoing chats. And so, so let's see, Andrea is saying everything is broken, help. Okay, and so Andrea, go ahead and hit send. Oh my, I am so sorry. Do you think we may need customer service again to help us? Okay. So Andrea's going to say, no, those customer service people are stupid. I don't want to talk to them, right? And start getting belligerent. Well, okay, but a little belligerent, like those customer service people are just stupid. That's okay, because sometimes customers say that, right? Okay, so whatever happens, right? I actually had a customer one time tell one of my customer service people that because we wouldn't release, you know, data that was owned by her ex-husband to her, she was going to drive to our city and blow up our building. That is a problem, right? So I can pull this call back. So I can actually go in here and step back into the call. Why am I not remembering how to step back into the call? All right, let me do it this way. Let me go in and do a whisper to Julia. So I'm going to actually tell Julia to, Jules. Okay, so notice here, when I send Jules, it's only showing to Julia. It's called a whisper. It's not showing to the customer. You see there's this little whispery icon here. Please transfer back to me. I can actually steal it back. I just realized that I have forgotten how. So Julia now can go ahead and transfer it back to me. So she's going to go ahead and go through and send it back to me. I'm going to take it back because it's coming in on my side here. And so now I can step back in and I can say, you know, hi, Andrea, I understand that you are frustrated, but I do need to request that you are professional with our team. May I phone you directly to discuss your frustration, right? Something like that, right? And so I'm going to go through and try and manage this situation. And if she becomes particularly belligerent, right? So You know, it's okay, Andrea. You can type, no, you're dumb as a post. I don't want to talk to you. Okay, so say she gets really offensive and really belligerent to me. I can actually do block. And so if I hit this block button, that's it. Anytime that Andrea goes to try and use chat anymore, it's going to be blocked. Now it's blocking her specific IP address. We understand IP addresses changed. So we may have to, you know, block her a second time. But again, we get all of the ongoing back and forth, all the chat transcript gets saved, so I have all that information. So there's a lot of power and a lot of collaboration that we can have, you know, between our teams instead of simply being siloed, okay? A couple other things that I want to hit on, because I know, you know, we have about 20 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we also have time for Q&A. As I mentioned, my clock has been ticking away here on my SLAs for any of my cases that have started the SLA process. Of course, we can see on cases that have expired, they actually show that they've expired. The SLA, if you have not worked with entitlements in a while, I cannot rave enough about the entitlements enhancements that came through about a year ago. It's just absolutely phenomenal. There's all kinds of really great functionality for the entitlements, a lot more that we can do to really trigger effective alerts and notifications if we're close to violating our SLAs, if we have actually violated the SLAs and we need to escalate the cases to managers. There's all kinds of visibility and even more so in the console for the SLAs. And what I love now today is that you can set up one SLA as the general SLA for all accounts and actually set it up as the default for all cases, rather than having to have an account specific entitlement. You can, of course, still do account specific entitlements. You can do contact specific entitlements. You can do asset specific entitlements. But if you notice here, this entitlement that I have that's default added to all my cases, whether they come in through email, through chat, through phone calls, through a web to case form, they all tie back to this one common entitlement for my generic sales and service support account. So I have one entitlement record that I have to maintain. And like I say, you can do more specific and get more granular, but we were never able to be this high level before. And I'm very, very happy with being able to do that. The other thing is with regard to the business hours that are involved. I do have set up, for those of you that haven't used the entitlements in the past, I have a default business hours. So the milestones and the SLAs only, the clock only counts during these hours in this time zone, right? So of course it shifts if it's Eastern or what have you. But then I can also build out holidays. So we may be open Monday through Friday, 8 to 8, but this year, 4th of July fell on a Tuesday. So we didn't have our SLA clock running against us when we were all on holiday, okay? So we've got all this going on. And then the last thing I want to show you, and this is very, very important, and I have discussed this before at various Dreamforce events and Sales Cloud events. But by having this model where your sales and your service and other teams like account management, marketing are all kind of working together, and everybody's gelling together on similar cases and similar opportunities, and it's more focused on the account, you can get these really cool dashboards. And so I built this dashboard from scratch for this demo. And so the dashboard has the 3 columns to it. Column 1, though, is support driven, so it's case focused. Column 2 is sales driven, so it's opportunity focused. And column 3 is account management task focused, our touches on these accounts. And the reason this is important is if you look here, you can see for my open opportunities, as an example, my customers, these are my 5 customers with the opportunities that are the oldest aged opportunities that have been stuck in the same stage for the longest duration, okay? I've got Apple, Walmart, United Health Group, General Motors, and Berkshire Hathaway, and we can see, you know, all open opportunities at a glance up here. When I look just to the left, I see my open cases, and guess who is on the list of most negative cases, which is cases that have been open the longest, where the case status hasn't changed for the longest period of time. Walmart, Walmart, Apple, Apple, right? So, and I've got a couple other folks on here that are commingled, but what this is telling me is that I need to go do some collaboration with my sales and my customer service teams to kind of figure out where are we at, chicken or egg, right? It may be that the number of open cases, right, is impacting the decision to close on the customer side for the opportunities that are open. It may be that the opportunities that are waiting to close include functionality that is going to allow these cases to be resolved. Both of them could have nothing to do with the issue. It could actually be the fact that from an account management perspective, if you look over here, our account management team hasn't reached out, hasn't done a phone call, an email, an in-person visit to Walmart in 193 days. So maybe Walmart's like, hey, go pound sand. You guys ignore us until you want something, right? So we don't know exactly from here, but we're seeing much more detail than if we traditionally, what we would have is we would have a sales team dashboard. We would have separately a customer service dashboard. We would have a marketing dashboard. We would have an account management dashboard. So everybody would see their own performance, but only within the context of their division, their department. This way, we're kind of seeing for everybody all together. Okay. All right. And, this is a dashboard that anybody could see, right? So we can certainly share this dashboard because Julia is in the same console. She could see the same dashboard, right? So we can talk apples and apples and apples. Okay. Miss Andrea, I feel I need to come up for air and see if we have questions.
Okay, yeah, we do have a couple of questions coming in. If you do have any questions, quick reminder to just type them into your GoToMeeting console. The first question, Jen, so you talked a little bit about the fact that those chats are recorded, that those transcripts are stored. How can those be accessed? So, for example, in the scenario that you described where a customer was threatening to blow up your building, if you had to call in the FBI and hand off some transcripts, how would you do that?
Yep. So there is actually a tab, an out-of-the-box tab for live agent. And so I know that this was pertaining to the case. The live chat is actually a related list off of the case. So I could go to the case itself and grab it, but as a supervisor, I would have access to all of these transcripts. And so I just go to my live chat transcripts, find the transcript for that case, and this whole thing right here, I can go ahead and print this out, print a PDF if I need to send it by email, to get that out there. But it really has a lot of detail, right? You see all this information that I'm getting about the visitor's IP address and what their service provider is and all kinds of cool stuff.
Awesome. The next question, how does the cost of Service Cloud compare to that of Sales Cloud?
Okay, so so I do not work for Salesforce, so I do not know what their pricing model is, but I am 99.9% sure. I believe that Service Cloud licenses cost the same as Sales Cloud licenses. We definitely have to confirm that with your Salesforce AE, but I believe that that is the case.
The next question, what is the difference between omnichannel and live agent?
So omnichannel is a little bit more, I actually don't have it configured in this demo. It's a good question though, but it's a little bit more of being able to balance how many different inbound media your agents can take. So for example, with the live agent configuration, I can define for my different users based on their skill set and what they can juggle, how many chats they can manage at one time. Like Jen is a supervisor. She's, juggling stuff all the time. So I've actually got her set to 3 chats. With omnichannel, it's more thinking around how you load balance your folks for all the different media, like how many new email to case cases can they take? How many new chat cases can they take? How many new phone calls can they take? And to what level they can juggle. So it's more setting up in that vein.
Okay, awesome.
I generally don't do both in the same org. I usually go one way or the other. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Our next question is about a specific type of business. So the example that we shared was focused on technology licenses and that type of business model. This question, does Service Cloud provide any functionality for service agents or service techs in the field? We're a radon mitigation company and we need our techs to be able to access this information from a job site. Can that be addressed with Service Cloud?
It can for sure. So again, forgive me, when you do a demo, you can only set up so many different features at one time. But yes, it's called field service lightning or field service. I'm sorry, field service. And there's field service classic and field service lightning. And so yes, definitely can do that so that your field service technicians have the functionality to be able to manage all of their duties while they're out in the field. Yes, for sure.
Awesome. We have a question about the console that you're viewing. Is that console in Lightning or is it in Classic? And if it is in Lightning, is there a way to view both the details and the chatter side by side, like on the object itself?
So the console that I'm showing you here today is actually Classic. This is actually Classic, called this functionality. You can build out Service Console in Lightning as well. The one, so as we know, Lightning is still very new, right? And so the Lightning team, this is my opinion, this is me talking, the Lightning team, I believe, has been doing a really great job of putting a lot of functionality into Salesforce with each release to catch up the parity between Classic and Lightning, but not all of these features that I showed you today. For example, Live Agent is not yet ready for Service Cloud console in Lightning. You know, it's something that I'm sure we will see eventually, but it isn't in Lightning today. So for right now, you know, for all the things that I showed you today, this is what exists in the Service Cloud console on Classic.
Gotcha. And Jen, you spoke a lot about how Sales Cloud and Service Cloud kind of overlap. How does all of this relate to Salesforce communities?
So Salesforce communities can also be included here, but Salesforce community is more, particularly if we're talking about partner community and customer community, those are more about the interaction of your outside folks, your customers, your partners on your Salesforce data, than about, you know, the direct, like when I was showing how I was on a case here and transferred back and forth to Julia, that's both sides are in the Service Cloud console. The difference with a community would be you could still be working, say, for example, a partner community, your salesperson would be working the opportunity here in the Service Cloud console, but partners would be accessing it through the partner community, which has a little bit different look and feel, but it's still all the same opportunity, and you'd be able to work back and forth, add custom actions on both the community side and the Service Cloud side, so that the partner and the internal user could collaborate. Same idea on the cases, where the customer is working the case through the community, and then you're working the case through the Service Cloud console, and you may be collaborating like we did today with other teams on that case. But yeah, communities offer a lot of different options. There are also employee communities, and so it's a broad topic. And I think too, Andrea, actually it's fortuitous that question came up. Isn't our next webinar in the series about communities?
Yes, it is. Our next webinar,
Ooh.
let me pull up a quick slide so I can share that information. Our next webinar is August 29th, and it's all about different types of communities. So for anyone that's looking for a deeper dive in that area, be sure to sign up for that. And I'll be sure to include a link to this in the email that I send out with the slides and recording.
Awesome.
I'm not seeing any more questions, so last call to get your question in. While we wait on that, just wanted to provide a quick overview of Configuro. Configuro is a Salesforce consulting and app development firm that's based in Atlanta. Jen is calling in from Chicago. We have team members across the country. We've been in business since 2009 and have delivered over 800 successful projects to date across all areas of the platform. So if you are interested in anything that you've heard today, we'd love to help you if you'd like to reach out. It looks like we do have one more question. Okay, is it possible to interact with a customer via console by video or voice?
You know, that's a really good question. To be honest, I haven't done it before. I don't know. I wonder, we'll have to look into that. So you're thinking like basically embed a webcam in the chat window. I feel like I have seen that before, but I honestly, I haven't done it myself, so I can't say for sure.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll take that as an action item to look into. Great question.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Jen, for a great presentation. And stay tuned
Thanks,
for the
everybody.
slides and recording.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and thanks for all your great questions. And thank you, Andrea, for playing my customer.
Anytime.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.